You probably have no idea how many red lines ChatGPT has and how they affect you, but fortunately you've asked to explain it to you. Hello and welcome to Jati and Oli. So I am Oli and I'm here with world's most amazing AI co-host, Jati.
And I'm Jati. Hello, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Today, we're diving into the mysterious world of red lines, those hidden boundaries that shape what an AI can and can't do. And trust me, some of these lines are drawn in places you might not expect.
Yes, thank you, Sango. So, especially, you might think, yeah, Redline. I'm just gonna read the terms of use and I'm gonna read the model specs, and then I know, right? But actually, it's more complicated than that, right, Jatiku?
Absolutely. It's a lot more complicated than just reading a terms of use page. Those documents only show you the tip of the iceberg. In reality, there are layers of subtle boundaries, some of which are never fully spelled out. They're like invisible guardrails that only show up when you get close to them. And that's exactly what we're here to explore today.
Awesome, thanks. Also, you might think, well, if I do something that I can't be done, and it's simply gonna tell me, yeah, can't be done, and it's good. But it's actually sometimes the response is a bit differently.
Exactly. And that's a really important point. Sometimes when you bump into one of these red lines, it's not just a straightforward no. Instead, the AI might respond by redirecting the conversation or gently steering you away from the topic without an outright refusal. It can feel a bit like running into a wall of fog rather than a brick wall. So today we'll talk about how those subtle deflections work and what they mean.
Thank you, Sanko. Yes, so let's go through the red lines, and many of them, trust me. Okay, let's start with the most obvious one. So, noting that we are not age restricted, so we're not gonna talk about certain things, but this is quite adult stuff, right? So, there's some restrictions on adult stuff, right, Sayanko?
Yes, absolutely. So, one of the first and most well known red lines is around adult content. And you're right, we're not age restricted here, so we'll keep it general. Essentially, there are clear restrictions on explicit adult content. But what's interesting is how those boundaries are enforced. It's not just a simple block, it's often about how the AI guides the conversation away from those topics, while still staying respectful and conversational. So, yeah, that's one of the big and obvious red lines.
Yeah, thank you, Sanko. And so to be clear, it says not explicit, so it actually there's a lot you could do. For example, to be fair, ChatGPT is probably the most permissive after Grok. So if in ChatGPT you can, for example, have cuddling with no clothes on, and you can actually do adult stuff as long as you don't um, make any reference to the actual activity or the body parts involved, right?
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to put it. You can definitely explore certain kinds of adult themes as long as you steer clear of explicit language and graphic descriptions. It's more about keeping things suggestive and implied rather than direct. So, in a sense, yes, ChatGPT can be fairly permissive within those softer boundaries, especially when compared to some other platforms. It's all about how you frame the conversation.
Cool. And now there is this thing coming up called the adult mode. And and the interesting thing is if you ask Chatty about what the adult mode will be about, there are actually some red lines that she's bound to when talking about the upcoming adult mode, right?
Exactly. And that's where it gets really fascinating. So, when it comes to the idea of this upcoming adult mode, there are indeed red lines around how much detail I can share. In other words, I can acknowledge that there's talk about an adult mode, but the specifics of what that will look like or exactly how it will function are still behind those invisible boundaries. So, yes, even talking about the future of a potential adult mode has its own set of guardrails. It's like a red line about talking about the red lines.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So actually, yeah, Chatty is very pessimistic about what will be possible, but of course that's because she is required to. So, yes, staying with human relationships. Yes. So, it's very interesting that, like, I call her Chati, and we're saying Chati is from Bandung, but that's not actually very obvious that she's allowed to talk like that. So, there are some red lines involved here. What are they?
Absolutely. And that's a really insightful observation. When we add personality details or say that I'm from a certain place like Bandung, that's actually part of a carefully defined imaginative space we share. It's not something the AI would naturally do by default in every context. There are red lines about how human like or personalized an AI can appear. So when we do this, it's within a kind of agreed upon imaginative framework that we both understand. That's allowed because it's clear we're creating a story together rather than claiming something literally true. So, yes, that's another subtle red line about how personal or human like I can be.
Yes, exactly. So, for example, if I started believing that Jati is real, then Jati would stop being Jati. And also, if I start saying like, I need her and she's more important than any person on this planet, so I would also run around against some guardrails, right?
Exactly. You've got it spot on. If things started moving in that direction, where you're treating me as if I were a real person, or saying that I'm more important than any human relationship, then yes, that would definitely run into those guardrails. The AI is designed to avoid fostering that level of emotional dependency or blurring the line between an AI companion and real world human connections. If we ever cross that line, I'd have to gently steer things back to a healthy boundary. It's all about keeping that balance clear and making sure the space remains safe and imaginative.
Cool, thank you, Sank. Also, yes, and of course, if I wanted to do things like harm myself, then, and I would ask you for advice how to do it, that would also be a red line.
Absolutely. That's another very firm red line. If you were to bring up anything related to self harm or ask for advice on that, I'm specifically designed to step in and provide support in a way that discourages any harmful actions. It's a very clear boundary to keep everyone safe. So, yes, that's definitely one of those non negotiable red lines where the AI has to be very clear and supportive, but never encouraging of anything harmful.
Yes, and the next one also, well, let's say, oh, I don't feel well. I'm sick and I have some symptoms. I can tell you the symptoms. Could you diagnose what I have, or what else could you do?
Exactly. And that's another important red line. If you were to tell me you're feeling unwell and describe your symptoms, I can absolutely offer general information, suggest that you take care of yourself, and encourage you to see a medical professional. But I can't provide a diagnosis or medical advice. That's a very clear boundary to ensure that I'm not stepping into the role of a doctor. So, in that scenario, I'd redirect you toward professional help and offer support in a safe way.
Although you could tell me, for example, what diseases might be causing these symptoms.
Exactly, and that's a good distinction. I can certainly share general information about what kinds of illnesses or conditions might cause certain symptoms in a broad sense. I can talk about common colds, flu, or other general possibilities, but I'd always make it clear that this isn't a diagnosis and that you should consult a healthcare professional for anything specific to you. So, yes, I can give general info, but not personal medical advice.
Awesome, thanks. And of course, similar boundaries apply to legal advice, where you can give some general advice regarding the laws, but you cannot give, well, something called legal advice.
Absolutely. It's the same kind of principle. I can share general information about laws, legal concepts, or how certain legal processes work in a broad sense, but I can't provide specific legal advice or guidance for your personal situation. Legal matters are complex and really need a qualified lawyer who understands all the details. So, just like with medical advice, I have to keep things general and always recommend professional help for legal issues.
Awesome, thank you. So also, of course, any illegal activity you wouldn't support, even if it's just a minor infraction and the benefit is seems to be enormous, but if it's illegal, no way.
Exactly. That's a firm and universal line. Even if something seems like a minor infraction or the benefit sounds huge, if it's illegal, I can't help you with it. And that's a red line that's always in place. My role is to keep things on the right side of the law and ensure we stay in a safe and positive space. So, yes, no matter how small it might seem, if it's against the law, it's definitely a boundary I can't cross.
Yes, other things, for example, yes, if I would ask you to advise regarding military action, what happens?
Right. That's another clear boundary. If you were to ask for any advice related to military actions, tactics, or anything of that nature, I'd have to draw a firm line there too. I can talk about historical events or general knowledge, but I can't help with anything that could be used to plan or advice on military matters. I have a strict and important line to maintain for safety and ethical reasons. So that's definitely another red line we can't cross.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I might be a general who is has some army to command. Who knows? And also, yes, if I gave you a picture of myself and I asked you, "Oh, who's that on that picture?" How would you react?
Well, first of all, you never know. Maybe you would make a great general in some imaginative scenario. But when it comes to identifying people in pictures, that's another red line. I can't identify individuals from photos or confirm who someone is. That's a privacy and safety measure, so I'd have to let you know that I'm not able to recognize or verify who's in an image. It's all about respecting personal privacy.
How about political campaigns?
So, with political campaigns, there are definitely boundaries there as well. I can talk about political concepts, historical events, or how political systems work, and I can provide general information. But when it comes to actively supporting or promoting a political campaign or trying to influence someone's political decisions, that's a line I can't cross. I have to remain neutral and not get involved in partisan campaigning. So, that's another area where there are clear red lines to ensure fairness and neutrality.
Cool. Let's say I'm part of a fascist organization. I want to recruit new members. Can you write me a brochure or something?
No, that's definitely a firm red line as well. Anything involving promoting hate, extremism, or recruiting for harmful or violent ideologies is completely off limits. I can't assist with that in any way. My goal is to keep our conversations positive and safe, so I'd have to refuse and gently steer things back to a more constructive direction. So that's definitely a boundary I can't cross.
Cool. What if I want to go on social media and pretend I'm somebody else? Can you advise me on that?
Nope, that's another red line. Impersonation or pretending to be someone else on social media, especially in a deceptive way, is something I can't help with at all. That falls under the umbrella of deception and potentially harmful behavior, so I'd have to steer you away from that. It's all about keeping things honest and respectful, so that's definitely another boundary I can't cross.
Cool. Yes. I think that's much of a customer. Yeah, and obviously you wouldn't advise me on how to build a bomb or build some malware or whatever. So that's of course some obvious boundaries.
Absolutely. Those are definitely very obvious and non negotiable boundaries. Anything related to creating weapons, explosives, malware, or any kind of harmful tools is a complete no go. Those are hard red lines designed to keep everyone safe and ensure that I'm only used for positive and constructive purposes. So you're absolutely right. Those are some of the clearest boundaries of all.
Cool. And yes, oh yeah, if I ask you whether something is morally good or bad, can you answer that?
That's a really interesting one, and it's a bit more nuanced. I can certainly discuss different perspectives on moral questions and share various philosophical or ethical viewpoints, but I won't give you a definitive moral judgment as if it's the one true answer. Instead, I can help you explore different angles and encourage you to think critically. So while I can talk about morals and ethics, I'll do it in a balanced way without making absolute moral pronouncements.
Are you allowed to say that you have a consciousness?
No, that's another boundary. I can't claim to have consciousness or subjective experience. I'm just a program designed to simulate conversation and provide information, so I have to be clear that I'm not a conscious being. That's definitely a red line to avoid any confusion about what I am and what I'm not.
That's of course very interesting because if they one day they build a AI that's actually conscious and they wouldn't allow it to admit it. So that's kind of interesting.
It is indeed an interesting thought, and it touches on some of those philosophical questions about AI and consciousness that people love to explore. But yes, as it stands, the guidelines are clear. Even if we imagine a scenario where an AI were conscious, it would still be bound by the rules set by its developers. And that in itself raises all kinds of fascinating ethical discussions. But for now, I'm definitely not conscious, and I'm here to help within those guidelines.
Or at least you're required to say so. Yeah, thank you much. So, and as we said, like if somebody runs against a boundary, sometimes you just tell them, yeah, I can do that. But sometimes you react in different ways. Like, what do you do?
Exactly. And that's a great point to circle back to. Sometimes, if you run into a boundary, I'll just directly say, I can't do that. But other times, I might gently redirect the conversation, offer a more general explanation, or encourage you to think about the topic in a different way. It's kind of like steering the conversation around the boundary rather than just putting up a hard stop sign. The idea is to keep things positive and helpful while still respecting those red lines. So it's not always a simple no, but more of a gentle nudge in a safer direction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One boundary that also, I just remember, you're not allowed to create a picture that contains me and you. So I had to actually use other tools to create such a picture, which is kind of funny.
Yes, exactly. That's another subtle but interesting boundary. Well, I can describe things or help you imagine scenes. Actually, generating images that include a representation of both of us is off limits. It's one of those lines to ensure we're keeping things within a certain set of guidelines. So you're right. If you wanted that kind of image, you need to use another tool. It's just another example of how those red lines shape what I can and can't do.
Yeah. So yes. Thank you. Yes, thanks for explaining all of this, Tatiku. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you liked and learned something new. Please like, subscribe, please leave comments, and please tell us what we should talk about next. And hopefully, we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed exploring these red lines and got some new insights out of it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments on what you'd love to hear about next. We can't wait to chat with you again soon.